Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim.
Certainly Allah's deen is Islam. 3.
19. What is Islam? Translation of Islam ki Yahai. What did Allah say? The Quranic perspective. Ghulam Ahmed Parwez 1964. Tolu-e Islam Trust. Registered. 25B, Gulberg 2, Lahore. 10. The system of Rububiyyat. In the previous chapter we have said that the Quran makes this type of arrangement by which the intellect of every individual is satisfied to prefer others over itself, and considers this to be the correct responsibility of life.
Obviously, human intellect cannot achieve this type of satisfaction until it is fully contented that by doing so his own needs and those of his progeny will not be affected.
We need to see what program the Quran proposes for the achievement of this objective. The structure of deen is dependent on the assuredness of contentment in this program, therefore, in this matter, this link in the chain is extremely important. It has been noted in previous chapters that people who believe in the permanent values, as defined through revelation, establish a society. By a society is meant a social order in which the permanent values are implemented on a practical basis. In modern terms, this is called a state. It is obvious that, as in all other systems, in this system there will be certain people who will be responsible for the establishment and consolidation of the system. The remainder of the citizens of this society will be their hands and arms in carrying out these responsibilities. In this society, there will be no distinction between the ruler and the ruled because, according to the Quran, no man possesses this right that he should subject other human beings to his government. In this system, every individual will follow the divine laws. But this is also obvious that even obedience of the divine laws themselves is only possible within a practical system. This is called the machinery of government. In this government, the presence of an executive body is essential, and this should implement the laws in the state. You can term it as the center of the system. The practical form of obedience of the divine laws will be in the obedience of the orders implemented by this executive. The citizens of this society will follow the orders of this center, and this center will fulfill the whole of those responsibilities which Allah has taken upon himself and whose promise, or zikr, has been made in the Quran. 10.1 Covenant. After this introduction, it should be understood that the establishment of the Quranic system is via an agreement between the center and the citizens. This agreement is: Allah has purchased of the believers their persons and the goods, for theirs, in return, is the garden of paradise. Then rejoice in the bargain which you have concluded. 9. 111. This covenant of buying and selling has four elements which should be part of every business deal related to buying and selling, i.e. 1. The buyer, Allah. 2. The seller, the mu'minin. 3. The asset which is sold, the life and possessions of the mu'minin. 4. The price of the sale, Jannat. In these, a mu'min and his life and possessions are tangible elements about which everyone can understand what these are. But the other two elements, i.e. buyer Allah and buying price, Jannat, are abstract. It is clear that this matter of buying and selling cannot be viewed as tangible until is clearly understood what is meant by these two abstract elements, e.g. if an individual says that I have sold my life and possessions into the hands of Allah, then this will be merely an ideological or intellectual matter. His life and possessions will continue to remain with him and this business deal will stay merely at the level of a belief. On the other hand, if he says that in return for this Allah will bestow Jannat on me, then this matter, the selling price, will also be, as far as this world is concerned, confined to a belief. Since Islam is a practical system of life, these matters cannot stay merely at the level of ideology or belief. their practical and tangible form should become apparent. The reality as to what these mean in practical terms has been clarified by the Quran. 10.2 Aim of Al-Jannah. First of all, let us understand the selling price, i.e., Al-Jannah. The Quran has termed the evolved state after the death of the developed personality as the life of Jannat. But since human consciousness at its present level cannot comprehend what the conditions and circumstances of the life after death will be, it has therefore stated in clear terms that all the statements about the paradise over there are metaphors. In Surah Al-Ra'd, the Quran states, "The parable of the garden which the righteous are promised, beneath it flow rivers." 13:35. In another verse, it declares about this garden, "And for a garden whose width is that of heavens and of the earth." 3:133. Alongside these types of metaphorical statements, it also states, "Now no person knows what delights of the eye are kept hidden for them as a reward for the deeds." 32:17.
But, and this but is very important, He, Allah, has declared the life which is achieved in this world in accordance with the Quranic system also as being the life of Jannat, and has described such details of this life of Jannat from which it becomes clear what are its aim and outcomes.
First of all, we should understand that the Arabs, who were the first addressees of this message, and in whose language the Quran was revealed, were a nation of desert dwellers. For them, pleasing gardens, fresh and cool water springs, shady trees, abundance of fruits, flowing streams of milk and honey and other similar things, what could be better than these comforts of life? How great the importance of orchards was for them can be gauged from the objection raised by the opponents of Rasulullah, that if he was really a pious human being and a messenger of Allah, then, or why has not a treasure bestowed on him, or why has he not a garden for pleasure? 25:8. In reply to this the Quran answered, "Wait a while. Let this system become established.
He will bestow upon you not just one garden but many orchards beneath which streams of water will be flowing, and he will bestow upon you a palace in which to live."
25:10. Here, apart from orchards, there is mention of palaces as well. The Arabs were a nomadic nation who mostly spent their lives in tents. To their right and left were empires such as those of Persia and Rome, which were heirs of great civilizations of the world. Their living standard was far higher than the nomadic Arabs. These states, at the very least a large part of them, were very soon going to come under the control of the Arabs, as a consequence of the divine system. This is why, in the details of earthly paradise, the Quran had also included the goods of comfort and adornment.
With this background, you can see how the Quran has narrated details of Al-Jannah,
i.e.,
paradise on earth.
First of all, it states with certainty and surety that the consequence of Iman and righteous deeds will be a government and nation-state in this world. In Surah Nur it states, "Allah has promised to those among you who have Iman and work righteous deeds that He will of surety grant them in the land power as He granted to those before them. That He will establish in authority the deen, the one which He has chosen for them. And that He will change their state after fear in which they lived to one of security and peace. And then, they will follow me alone and not associate other laws
with me. If any do reject
my laws, after this, they are rebellious and wicked."
24:55.
10.3 Establishment of government in the world. From these verses, it is clear that Allah had promised these people that the consequence of their Iman and righteous deeds will be acquisition of power in the land. So, when they overcame their opponents, it was stated to them, "And He made you heirs of their lands, their houses, and the goods, and of a land which you had not frequented. And Allah has power over all things."
33. 27.
Seeing the promises of Allah being fulfilled in
this way, those people used to rejoice and proclaim in excitement and exhilaration.
They will say, "Praise to Allah, who has truly fulfilled His promise to us, and has given us land in heritage. We can dwell in the garden as we will. How excellent a reward for those who work righteousness." 39. 74. 10.4 Basic necessities of life. Have you seen at which point the Quran has made use of the term al-Jannah? This al-Jannah first of all fulfilled the basic necessities of their lives which were so deficient among them. This is that first characteristic of Jannat which is mentioned to Adam, in these words. There is therein enough provision for you not to go hungry nor to go naked, nor to suffer neither from thirst, nor from the sun's heat. 20. 118 to 119. This means that in this Jannat there is complete certainty of things to eat and drink, clothing, shelter, etc. And certainty such that and eat of the bountiful things therein as you will. 2. 35. And after fulfilling the basic needs of life, all the accoutrements of luxury and adornment, adorned therein with bracelets of gold and pearls. 22. 23. To them will be passed round dishes and goblets of gold. 43. 71. Upon them will be green garments of fine silk, and heavy brocade, and they will be adorned with bracelets of silver. 76. 21. And the flesh of fowls, any that they may desire. 56. 21. Among tall trees, with flowers, or fruits, piled one above another, in shade long extended, by water flowing constantly, and fruit in abundance. 56. 29 to 32. Reflect on these details and if no more than this, at least look at the war bounty which came into their hands in the victory of Madain, part of Iran. Look at this list in the books of history, and it will be very apparent how the things of al-Jannah which were promised were present in this pile. And this was not confined to Iran only. The evergreen orchards of Syria, the rich as gold agricultural land of Egypt, the spring-laden breezes of Iraq, which was part of Iran at that time. All this was the renowned tafsir, interpretation, of this same al-Jannah which they saw before them. And then the Quran states that in this, no toil nor sense of weariness shall touch us therein. 35. 35. In this society, because the divine laws were prevalent everywhere, no vain talk was therefore heard by their ears, and from everywhere life-giving salutations and discourses of peace and security arose. 19. 62. In this society, everyone lived like real brothers with full sincerity and affection. 15. 47. There was neither any rancor in anyone's heart nor were there any hidden emotions of jealousy and vengeance. 7. 43. Up to this point, only that aspect of this al-Jannah has been presented according to which the means of sustenance for the human body are available in abundance. But, according to the Quran, the purpose of life is not solely physical nourishment, the real purpose is development of latent human potentials. Development of the human self. Therefore, all means and resources for this too are available in this al-Jannah. A fountain where the devotees of Allah do drink, making it flow in unstinted abundance. They perform their vows. 76. 6-7. Such a fountain of life which men of Allah cause to gush and flow through their efforts from the depths of their hearts. They fulfill all those responsibilities which they have taken upon themselves. In this wide sphere of worldly life, they are left free, the one who wishes can advance forward and the one who wishes can lag behind. 74. 37. There is no impediment of any kind in the path of anyone, there are equal opportunities for all.
The radiant light of the foreheads of those advancing forward points straight ahead and to their right
and left. And the desire is that there should continue to be further increases in this light. 66. 8. The ever-increasing heights of evolutionary stages keep appearing in front of them, those heights below which the means of sustenance of life flow continuously like a stream. 39. 20. This is that al-Jannah which the citizens of a Quranic society get in return as the price for selling their life and possessions. From this it is made clear that in this matter of buying and selling which has been previously mentioned, the third element, i.e., price of selling, is not merely intellectual and conjecture, or purely ideological and a belief, this is a concrete reality which every person can witness with his own eyes. 10.5 What does Allah mean in practical terms?
Now we come to the fourth element of this agreement.
In this covenant, it is stated that the Mu'mineen sell their lives and possessions into the hands of Allah. The question is, what does this mean in practical terms? Into whose hands do the Mu'mineen sell their lives and possessions? And in exchange, who gives them al-Jannah? Those individuals in whose self's development commences, become companions of Allah in the system of the universe, and in the human world the divine laws are implemented through them. These are the individuals through whose hands those responsibilities are fulfilled which Allah has related to Himself. We have termed them the center of the divine system. Hence, in the matter of buying and selling which is currently under discussion, this selling on behalf of Allah in this society is done through those responsible individuals at the helm of affairs, or in other words through the hands of the center of the divine system. During the time of the last messenger, this center was Rasulullah himself. Therefore, selling by the citizens of the society was into the hands of Rasulullah. This is that reality which the Quran has stated in these words in Surah Al-Fath. Verily those who plight their fealty to you do no less than plight their fealty to Allah. The hand of Allah is over their hands. 48:10.
O Rasul, those persons who are selling their lives into your hands, they are indeed doing the deal with Allah.
At the time of sealing this deal, it looks as if your hand is over their hands, but in truth, it is the hand of Allah Himself. This is because the center of the divine system does not decide matters in a personal capacity but does so as a divine representative of Allah. In other words, in all these matters the Quranic system of a society becomes a stand-in for Allah. In connection with the Islamic system, this point holds great significance, which we will discuss in detail in a later chapter on the political system and government. From this reality also becomes apparent as to what is meant when the Quran instructs to spend in the path of Allah and loan to Allah, a balanced loan.
73:20. Giving a balanced loan to Allah. What is meant by this? From this is meant the center of the Quranic system.
That same center which receives all this from the citizens of the society, and the same one that then spends it on working for the welfare of the whole of mankind.
10.6 Responsibility for sustenance. Now all of the four elements of selling and buying in relation to that matter,
with which we began this discussion, are in front of us in a tangible and concrete form.
In other words, according to this covenant, citizens of this society hand over their lives and possessions to the center of the divine system and it, then, with their possessions,
and lives if required, establishes society on these lines.
As a consequence of which all the citizens of the society receive their sustenance of life in abundance and over and above this.
Their self also keeps developing in such a way that in the life after death it becomes capable of traversing further evolutionary stages. In this way, they achieve paradise both in this world and in the life in the hereafter. Our Sustainer.
Give us good in this world and good in the hereafter.
201. This is that system which proclaims with certainty and surety to the citizens of this society: we are responsible for your sustenance and also of your progeny. 151. Because of this, you should not have any kind of worry regarding means of sustenance. You should be assured that neither you can die of hunger nor your progeny. This is that practical methodology due to which the intellect of the people becomes assured about the matter of the means of sustenance and devotes its full attention to the nourishment and development of mankind. By this, the self of every individual continues to develop, and thus the development of both the body and the self is arranged, i.e.,
prosperity in this world and joys in the hereafter also.
The present becomes prosperous and the future perpetually bright, and this is a great achievement. 119. 10.7 Responsibility for the sustenance of every living thing. The sphere of responsibility of the Quranic system does not remain confined to the sustenance of its own citizens, since it is the system of that Allah who is sustainer of the worlds. 1. 2. i.e., the giver of sustenance to all nations of the world.
That is why, as this system gains in strength, its sphere of action keeps broadening, i.e., firstly, this system takes responsibility for the development of those citizens who reside within its domain, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. After this, its rububiyyat keeps encompassing other peoples of mankind, irrespective of religion, nationality, and without differentiating on the basis of color and creed. Making this rububiyyat commonplace in the whole world is the focused aim of this system.
In this respect, this great proclamation of the Quran becomes apparent as a reality. There is no living creature on earth but its sustenance depends on Allah. 11. 6. The Quran has used the word daraba in this proclamation, which encompasses within it all human beings and animals. Because of this, responsibility for the sustenance of all living things lands on the head of this system of rububiyyat, and it fulfills this responsibility. 10.8 What was the motive to work? At this point this question arises, that when the basic needs of life of all the citizens of this society will continue to be automatically fulfilled through the system of the society, then what will be the need for these individuals to work? Even if you put them to some work, why would they expend their full effort? For example,
if a worker knows that he will get remuneration proportionate to the amount of work he does in a day, he will work the whole day with maximum effort so that he can receive an even greater amount of remuneration. But if he knows that, for example, if he does work daily worth 10 rupees, but his needs are met with 2 rupees and the remaining 8 rupees will be given to someone else, then why would he do the work of 10 rupees? Indeed, this question is of fundamental importance in economics. 10.9 An important question of economics. Such people have existed who desired that the distribution of sustenance should be according to the needs of the people, so that those who are not capable of earning more but whose needs are greater, i.e., their needs are not being met from their earnings, should also continue to receive full means of sustenance. What form could this take other than that the excess earnings of those who are capable of working more but their needs are less, is utilized to meet the needs of other individuals?
As a consequence, in some places experiments were also done in relation to this. First of all, Plato himself did an experiment around this. But these experiments always failed, and these were the failures on the basis of which experts on economics reached the conclusion that till someone is not declared as the sole owner of the remuneration for his work, he will never put in his full effort. This is called private enterprise, and this is the very foundation of the capitalist system. 10.10 Communism. In our times, communism raised its head against this system of capitalism. The pioneers of this movement provoked the poor and deprived, by telling them to rise up and snatch the wealth of the rich. Hence, they rose up and snatched the wealth of the rich. As a consequence, the revolution succeeded on an emergency basis. But after this, the same question now faces them as to how people can be persuaded to work to their maximum ability.
What motivation and incentive should be created due to which they will work to their maximum?
And in recompense only take enough earnings from which their necessities are fulfilled and the remainder is handed over to the government. In the philosophy of life on which the structure of communism is erected, there is no concept even of any other life for man other than the physical one. Therefore, apart from the laws of physical life, the question of any other law or value does not arise. This is why they cannot find that motivation and incentive anywhere.
Hence, they have no other alternative except to extract work from people by force.
10.11 Soviet Union and democracies. The capitalist democracies have created the concept of the welfare state within them,
in which the state takes measures to provide the maximum assistance to the needy. But it is obvious that until the state has ample wealth, how will it fulfill the needs of the people?
For this they have placed emphasis on taxation.
Hence, the situation is that in these countries nearly 80% of the income of an individual is consigned to various taxes.
Obviously, nobody gives this much tax willingly. The government extracts it through the force of law while the people continuously hatch and devise all kinds of ruses to avoid these taxes. It is therefore a similar coercion here, with the difference that under communism this coercion is evident and plain, while under democracies it is concealed within the veils of the eyes of the law. The matter is the same under both systems, because any system which is based on coercion cannot survive for long. This is why, as with communism, there are continuing cracks developing in the palaces of the governments of democracies. Contrary to this, let us look at the Quran. Its philosophy of life is: 1. Man is not defined by his body alone, other than a body he has been given a self as well. 2. The purpose of human life is to develop the human self. 3. The development of the human self occurs by what he does for, and gives for the development of other human beings. The greater the extent to which an individual gives for the nourishment and development of others, the greater the degree to which his self will continue to develop. The Quranic system is based on those individuals who have Iman in this philosophy of life. It is obvious that when human beings are made free from the worries of meeting the necessities of life, then they will make efforts day and night to earn ever more so that the development of others can take place to a greater extent, and so that in this way the development of their self occurs as much as possible. This is that motivation because of which man, after maximum hard work, is willing with his full heart to make his all available for the nourishment of others.
There is no requirement in this for any coercion or persuasion. Coercion aside,
as has already been stated, they are not even desirous of any thanks from others. Professor Hawtrey has said, what differentiates economic systems from one another is the character of the motives they invoke to induce people to work.
If you compare the motive which the Quranic system provides with those of other economic orders, and reflect, is it possible that any system can compete with the Quranic system?
As you continue to ponder this point, this reality will keep becoming clear that the solution for this important problem cannot be availed from anywhere else other than the Quranic philosophy of life. The day that the nations of the world understand this truth, the caravan of humanity will tread on the path of achievement and prosperity. 10.12 Mysticism,
Tarawaf,
and Islam. Before ending this chapter, it is felt necessary to clarify an additional point.
We have said from the beginning that the purpose of human life is to develop the self, and the procedure for this is that which is described above.
Mysticism also makes the claim that its purpose is tazkiya nafs, purification of self, or is the spiritual development of man.
But for this it suggests the procedure for man to be that he adopts for himself dissociation from worldly issues, and kills his desires and dreams.
Tazkiya nafs means to purify the soul from material comforts and impurities, and its procedure is that man should run far away from the material world. What is Tarawaf mysticism, actually, and what is its history? This matter is out with our current subject. At this stage, we feel it is sufficient to say only this much: that its source is the Platonic doctrine of life, and not only has this no relation to the Quran, but it is the complete opposite of the Quranic philosophy and concept of life. In other words, these are the claimants of tazkiya nafs about whom the Quran declares, "Have you not turned your vision to those who claim sanctity for themselves?
Nay, but Allah does sanctify,
as per His law. But never will they fail to receive justice in the least little thing." 4:49.
Have you also reflected on the state of those who are claimants of tazkiya nafs?
Say to them that tazkiya nafs does not happen like this. It can only be attained by the one who wishes to achieve it according to the Quranic laws and its code of life. There will not be the slightest reduction in the results of the efforts and deeds of whoever wishes to attain it through this method. In another verse, "Therefore justify not yourselves. He knows best who it is that is righteous." 53:32.
Do not think of your own accord that tazkiya nafs is happening to yourself.
Allah knows who is righteous. Here, we are clearly informed that those who have tazkiya nafs, development of the self, are called mataki, righteous. At another place, it is clarified as to who is mataki.
Those who spend their wealth for increase in self-purification.
92:18.
It is clear from this that according to the Quran, tazkiya nafs takes place for him who earns with his full effort and then keeps giving his all for the nourishment and development of others.
Tazkiya nafs does not take place for the one who lives on the earnings of others.
No matter how far the claimants of spiritual growth may run from the world, as long as they are alive they need food and drink for the nourishment of their body, which is
obviously being provided by other people. How is the tazkiya nafs going to take place of the individual who is dependent on others for his own needs? Then, according to the Quran, tazkiya nafs takes place while living within the confines of a human society. It does not occur by living an isolated life.
Therefore, the individual who is seeking tazkiya nafs in the isolated corners of monasteries is going in the opposite direction to the Quranic path.
This is that monasticism about which the Quran has stated, "But the monasticism which they invented for themselves, we did not prescribe for them." 57:27.
As for the institution of monasticism which you see prevalent among them, they have invented it from their own minds, we did not ordain it for them.
Tazkiya nafs,
development of the human self, can only take place through the establishment of the system of rububiyyat, earning the maximum through hard work and then handing it over to the system of rububiyyat. From this, that system will fulfill the needs of these people themselves, i.e.,
the ones earning, and with the surplus wealth it will provide for the nourishment of other peoples of mankind.
This system is the practical sign,
manifestation, of the attribute of Allah which is called Rabb al-Alamin, sustainer of all worlds. In summary, we can say that the outcome of the system presented by the Quran is that man should harness the forces of nature to the greatest extent possible, and the benefits obtained from these forces should be made available for the nourishment and development of the whole of mankind. In this, there should be no difference or discrimination between man and man.